And in 3, 2, 1. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Torch Snubbers podcast. I'm your host, Colin Connors. With me, as always, is my wonderful co-host and Latina flavor, Alicia Garza.
Hey, y'all.
Also joining us today, the very beautiful Stephen Lehman.
Oh, thank you, Colin. Appreciate it.
The always interesting Prince Ty.
Good evening.
And joining us tonight, a very special guest, the one who has a giant place in my heart, the man who voted out Boston Rob, the one, the only John Carroll. John, woo!
Hola.
Okay. So, John, I want to thank you so much for joining us, and I want to thank all you listeners out there for listening. We got one heck of an episode to discuss. It was a merge, the biggest merge in Survivor history, and Kass was sent home. Real quick, I did say Kass was going to go home last week, so maybe this redeems myself for picking Vetus as a winner. Anyways, we got a whole lot to discuss.
No.
It's already no. John, does me saying Kass is going to go home redeem me for picking Vetus as a winner?
Oh, God, no.
Okay. All right, never mind. So it does not redeem me.
You're starting to chip away at, like...
I'm starting to chip away.
You get like 3 in a row, and one has to be a complete random.
Actually, John, I picked Wu and Keith to win. So...
Yes.
Well, Keith could be a dark horse.
Yeah. Well, I'm saying, like, in their seasons.
In their original
seasons. Yeah,
so,
okay.
That's not bad. That's my one claim to fame.
Right.
Okay. Thanks, Alicia. So...
You didn't win.
I didn't win. That's true. But I came close.
Winner in Survivor winner picks.
Yeah, that's true. I've never been a winner in Survivor winner picks. Anyways, John, I want to talk with you about the very beginning of the episode. Because it had a confessional of Andrew Savage being sad that Kass flipped on him. To me, that's kind of just ironic. Like, how could he possibly think that Kass wouldn't do anything like that? And also, I guess, I'm asking you, how did she even last as long as she did? What do you think Savage was thinking?
Savage is in a parallel universe playing a game that I think probably took place somewhere around 2007. I mean, he's not in 2015 Survivor World. I mean, it's like every time something happens, he's so personally offended. Mm-hmm. Like somebody like put a turd in his drawer at work, or stole his brief that he was working on, in preparation for a trial. I mean, it's
his TPS report, perhaps.
Yes. Office space, baby. Office space.
Yes.
Well, we'll go ahead and give him his, what is it, a streamliner? No, what's the red, the staple?
The swing line.
The swing line staple.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So you're saying...
if they took his desk and put it in the basement.
So you're saying that Savage is almost like a Milton-like person, that he's never going to have any awareness of what's actually going on until he burns the place down?
I just don't know. I mean, it's because then here's the part that really blew me away. It's just how reactive he was personally, like emotionally reacted. I'm thinking that's how you play the first time. Mm-hmm. The second time it's like, okay, that happened. Asterisk, note to self. How, it's like that old, is it going to eat me or am I going to eat it? Mm-hmm. Or do I need to worry about it right now? And so all of a sudden it was like Sierra. I don't get players that are like that, where they get one slight against them and then it's like enemy number one, because that's Abby's game. Mm-hmm. So maybe Abby rubbed off on Savage. Who knows?
And I guess if anyone else wants to chime in on it, Savage is...
What I love is this. Savage pretty much said, hey, Sierra, I'm going to dangle your name out there. Right. All of last round, and then is offended when she's offended by that. But it's okay for him to be offended, but it's not okay for her to be offended, because I guess she just doesn't care enough about how Savage feels, and it's just...
So we all agree that Savage is playing a very flawed game, but Steven, is he being edited to show that he's playing a flawed game, or are we supposed to be sympathizing with him?
Oh, of course we're supposed to be sympathizing with him, because he's just such a good guy. And did you know he has a really hot wife at home, and that he's got a perfect wife, and he's got great kids? Did you know that he's got a perfect wife, and the only thing wrong is that he didn't win Survivor Pearl Islands like God intended him? Like, we're supposed to sympathize with this dude who's like got a great life, and I'm not knocking Savage as a person. I'm sure he's a great guy off the show, but on the show, I think he's really entitled, and I think he just gives off this vibe where he's like, there's like this element that he's owed something. It's like, you're owed nothing. Like, you should be grateful you even got a second chance out here. Like,
That seems fair. Okay, Alicia, did you want
I
to chime in?
just continue to not see what y'all see about Savage being entitled.
Oh, Jesus
Perhaps
Christ.
I am blinded because he is my winner pick and I love him and like voted for him to go back to the season. But I just see him as someone that, yes, as Joe was saying, plays with his heart on his sleeve, but is also really just, I don't know, he's like living in it. He's there,
he's
he's
seething and
experiencing
living
it, he
in
has
it.
raw emotion, and we're getting a lot of that in his narration because he's definitely one of the main narrators of our season.
Well, and John, real quick, I just want to clarify, Alicia is the casual fan of us, okay? So you're going to be hearing a lot of stuff,
Now it all
yeah.
I have opinions that are perfect that other people would think are the worst.
Their favorite player of all time is Ozzy.
Okay, and Ty, did you want to say something real quick before we moved on?
Well, I mean, it's just... I think what bothers me about Savage is that he thinks he's playing the game, like, well and really hard. And, you know, I haven't been on in, like, a few weeks, but I have not been on since Jeff Varner tragically left us too soon. Varner was a character. Varner gave no shits.
Can
He
we
was
have
out
a
there.
silence, please?
Yes.
A moment of silence, okay.
Okay, please.
And we're all terrible sinners for not thinking about how Savage felt about Varner.
I'm
going.
sorry, I
But
didn't
anyway,
know moment of
digress.
silence.
It's just when you compare the two, it's sad that Savage continues to slip by, and it just makes the game. But I don't
Savage
think he
is
will.
going far, man.
I don't think he will forever.
Yeah, he's not going to win. He's going far.
And everybody's got great points because everybody's got their own perspective, and their own experience, and for Alicia, who's a casual fan, may not have seen him play the last time.
I did.
But, or may not have paid attention like we did.
Yeah, exactly.
He was so robbed.
Thank you, John.
So you must have got up to go to the bathroom or something.
For like a 3-episode span.
This is
Probably
making my life. This is
something. Watching your hair. But if you look at the game this time with Varner and Savage, Varner was out there having fun, and he wasn't taking himself so seriously. But
Amen.
Savage is just so every sentence that comes out is should be on a postcard and a cup and a fucking t-shirt. I'm like, and it's and these knowing kind of looks oh, did you see I said something really important just now? And we all stop and relish this moment of this thing I just said.
I just want to point out to all listeners out there, every time John's something mean about Savage, Ty and Steven are both just freak out on camera oh, this is the man. This is what I've been waiting to hear. It's what Colin will not say.
This is what it embodies to me. If Varner made a comment to Savage about how Abby is delicious, he would just sit there confused until production got some rain to fall on him, so he looked epic in his confusion.
Oh my god, so much rain
This
this
is
episode.
what happened is Varner says, I think Abby's delicious. This is what you would get. I don't understand why Jeff wants to eat Abby.
Oh, that is so perfect. But anyways, we have a lot more stuff to talk about than just Savage, even though I know we could spend quite some time on him.
And here's the thing is Savage, is a great guy. It just, you get caught up in the game, and we all do. But it's kind of like a Fishback's edit, which obviously we're going to get to because the humiliation tour continues. First he was physically awkward, and we know he's socially awkward, and now we know he's poetically awkward. So I think essentially what we're getting from Fishback is that he is perpetually awkward.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter which. Just spin the wheel, and you'll figure out
he'll be awkward in there.
I actually thought you were referring to his humiliating defeat as first one out, seconds into the immunity challenge, because I think I blocked the poetry from my mind and wanted to pretend like it hadn't existed.
That's true, and we are going to get to the poetry and what I think that means. I want to talk with you, John, real quick. When you played Survivor, you merged at 10. Very good, solid number.
Right.
They've been pushing it up. Sometimes 11, sometimes 12. There was a season with 9. Mm-hmm. Is 13 too much?
Because I think next time there'll probably be a merge at 20. So then there will be no tribes, and the first one voted out won't go home. They'll be on the jury, and there'll be 3 finalists and 17 jury members. It'll take 2 nights to get the tribal council finished, and we'll find out the week later who won after they count.
So you're anti-13 from what I can understand.
No, you know what? Here's the thing is what I loved about 13, and I don't think it quite worked out like maybe they thought it was going to be, or it's because of just what they chose to edit based off of the rise, the continuing rise of Sierra as a villain. Kass being, pulling Kass out of Pandora's box, and then Tasha being sucked into, that whole vortex. Clearly that was like where all the heat was in this. So everybody else just kind of went dormant, so there was really, so I think if Kass had not done that, I think we would have seen a lot more vitriol at tribal council, because I think there would have been more uncertainty. But as soon as those 3 women pulled focus,
Yep.
It allowed everybody just to like go, whoop, you know what, let this work itself out and just, figure out what's going to happen. And even look what happened, what Wentworth did, what Sierra did, it was a mess.
Mm-hmm. And I will say, I agree, because it was kind of like, to me, Kass putting herself out there just was such an easy vote. It was such like, the merge is normally so confusing, and all these second chances, they don't want to make big risk unless they absolutely have to. So it's, why not get rid of, the wild card right off the bat? All right, this really pivotal moment. Does anyone else want to chime in on the 13-player merge?
No, I think that's
very
it.
well said. See, next episode is gonna be me and you, John, because apparently they don't even want to.
Well, I think it's exciting.
That's not true. I said a lot of things.
Still in the game, made the merge, and then are also making the jury right now. Because obviously it's a huge accomplishment and it's something very exciting. And so I'm always really happy when when those steps happen for the players, and I'm sure they are too, and they're excited that there's.
I'm not. They should have merged at 4. They should have just kept them all.
I'm just sad because we're far enough in now that I know the moment that Kelly Wigglesworth gets a confessional, she's dead. Probably.
We're going to be talking about that. The shamefulness of the invisible edge we've been getting so far. So, Stephen, would you agree with me that the theme of tonight's episode was more of just how Kass lost the game? Because, we saw her spilling the beans to Tasha for really no logical reason whatsoever, and then her trying to go back, just continually seeing Kass fail over and over again. Is that the story of tonight's episode?
I think it was definitely. I don't know if it was the story. I think it might have been the story of tonight's episode. And unfortunately, Kass's arc had concluded, but I think this gave rise to an even bigger story of Tasha, where I think she's going to be doing some things that are not necessarily received so positively as they might have been tonight.
Ooh, okay, you're throwing a dagger out there. Why? Okay, Alicia, you want to jump in on that?
I just wanted to say, I think it's that Kass kind of had her second chance with Spencer and saw that it went so well because she ended up saving Spencer, and then saw Spencer be so grateful to her and want to be working with her. And I think rather than realizing that she needed to establish way more trust with Tasha first before just assuming that, Cagayan was going to be all kumbaya, she just kind of threw it out there, assuming that, well, what happened with Spencer, I'm sure it'll happen with Tasha too, and didn't put in the appropriate amount of groundwork first. Yeah. And didn't realize that Tasha's still not over being betrayed by her, and also hasn't really gotten to see the full new Kass. So,
well, and then John, why would Kass make the assumptions that people would trust her? Because that was kind of my big thing about Kass. Is I'm like, Kass, you're smart enough to know you have a reputation. You're smart enough to know that in Survivor they pin anything they can on you. Why did she think she could just, waltz up to Tasha and it'd all be good?
I think it's like Alicia said, it worked with Spencer, and but that was expedient. I mean, it was very much in a vacuum. It came time to a vote. Sierra definitely did not, like the fact of what Savage did, and Abby had a bone to pick with Wu. So everything kind of didn't work out for Kass to go after Spencer, which gave time, like Alicia said, to kind of build a foundation. And then I think as that started to work and there was maybe some healing in the game, I think both Spencer and Kass were looking at like, wait a minute, this is a second chance. Can we truly have a clean slate? Because it's the W know versus the W don't. And I'm a big proponent of, in Survivor, don't be afraid of the villains because you know how they play, and whether they're the scorpion or the frog, you just know at some point they're going to sting, and but don't be super reactive in not wanting to do that. So then all of a sudden she gets over with Tasha, and and I was kind of blown away because Kass is an attorney. And one of the things as an attorney, when you work with clients and opposing counsel and judges and all of that, you really have to learn to read the room, because tonally, there's a lot of nonverbals that come your way, and you have to be able to, intuitively take those things in. And you could just see it all over, Tasha's face, that she wasn't picking up what Kass was putting down.
Oh yeah.
And rather than doubling down, she should have just, like I think Alicia said, is just let it go and then come back, and kind of prove yourself if you really wanted to work with Tasha. And so that didn't happen. And then she doubled down, and then she really went Chaos Kass. Then it was the mean girl came out, and then she doubled down, tripled down, and then she was committed.
So I think you're saying all of this just so that way when me and you play together, I'm like, oh, I can totally work with him. He's the devil I know, clearly. Tony's crazy. And I guess kind of going off on that point, to me it just seems it's almost just disappointing that the whole overarching theme of second chances is if you change your game, you might have a chance to win. And the moment Kass gets a little bit of something, a little bit of thing going with Spencer, she just opens up Chaos Kass. And if anyone wants to chime in on that, they can. But to me, I'm just kind of like, I'm dumbfounded because she saw that being nice actually was working out for her on her work tribe.
I mean, I don't necessarily have a problem with her trying to break up what she perceives as an alliance that she wasn't going to be in the long term. The problem is that the way she did it, and also Sierra made a huge mistake jumping in on that. Because it could have been a 2-person boot episode, and it became a 3 potential boot episode by virtue of the fact that Sierra thought, yes, this is something I should get in on, which is dumbfounding. Because I love Sierra very much. I find her as entertaining as a player, but what on earth was that?
That's actually an incredibly good point. And this actually, you actually just kind of brought up a point I wanted to bring up, and I want everyone to jump in on this. Okay. Kelly Wentworth. We have not been seeing very much of her. She got a very strong edit in the first 3 episodes. And I was thinking, what in the world is she doing? Why isn't she giving her hidden immunity idol? Because she's in that alliance with Kass or in Sierra and Abby. But then I realized what you just said makes a lot of sense. She's just like, you know what? She's just sitting back and taking her time. Yeah. So is this going to be a... Go ahead.
My point was this. The problem with Kass doing what she did when she did is that, sure, she pointed out that Jeremy is strong and, Savage is strong and Joe is, all those strong people are there and in that alliance, and she was worried about them and she went and threw the shade on them. They're still there. Mm-hmm. They can still get, there's still 12 people left. And you do not, there is plenty of time for everything to naturally converge and for all of the people who are like, yeah, Kass, we can let her go this round, to still vote out the threats. And that's the mistake. Like, they don't really need Sierra either. So Sierra might go. I mean, obviously they're trying to play it up that it's all going to go, break loose next episode. Maybe it will, maybe it won't.
We'll see on that.
But I mean, that's my thought. That's
Kelly's got options in the game right now, and so she doesn't need to toss out an immunity idol haphazardly to save someone. I mean, she's got that deal with Joe going on, and I'm sure she's got other relationships that we're not seeing because we're not seeing her very much. So I just really think that she's biding her time, and she's going to see what options are the most viable for her, and then maybe do some idol work.
Exactly, and I think it's
I feel like she has a long time in the game yet, particularly because I know how they, edit the female winners.
And I want to jump to John real quick.
Yeah.
My assessment, John, of what's happened with tonight's episode is that Sierra's kind of DOA. She may not be the next to go. They might want to say, hey, let's take out one of the male threats. But I don't think she's going to be able to get her footing again. Same thing with Abby. I do think, though, Wentworth could possibly make some maneuvers. And besides Joe, do you see any other avenues? Because, I mean, she wasn't even given that much negative screen time tonight. It was just, oh, she's one of them. They didn't even explain to us why she was even on the outs.
Well, Kelly's Wentworth's my pick to win the season. I love Kelly, and I love the little shades and facets that she's showing us, and what and obviously through the edits, that very first episode, she's got that idol. She ain't telling nobody about that idol, unless she gets really deep and then needs to. The fact that she threw a vote at Kass when they were all supposed to be in that group tells you she's playing her own game. Mm-hmm. The only thing I have a concern about is, and I don't think anybody's picked up on it, but for somebody who, potentially is on the bottom, she has the confidence of somebody who has an idol in her pocket. So, I would be a little bit worried that somebody who's more intuitive in reading kind of body language, things like that, might start kind of picking up on that.
Why isn't she worried? Exactly.
What's that?
Like, people worrying, like, why isn't she worried when she's not?
Like Steven could notice that.
Yeah, she'd be crotch framing. That'd be a pretty. Yeah.
But I definitely see that. I think Joe and her do want to work together, and the fact that she did throw a vote at Kass, maybe something she's going to turn around and use to try to work with, because she could supplant somebody by using Joe that's in that alliance. She's athletic, she can hold her own. But I don't know that anybody's going to perceive her as being this uber challenge beast. She's just somebody who could strike at any moment. But I wouldn't count Sierra out either. I mean, the fact that she laid down the gauntlet and said, look, I'm here to play the game, and I want to play with other people that want to play. And guess what? There's some people there that want to play. But again, you got to, choose your moments wisely. But if you look at every single person that's been voted out so far, they've just made a boneheaded move. Wu not so much, but Wu let the game take him out. He wasn't a participant like he needed to be. But if you look at everybody else along the way, something happened. Beatus rubbed people the wrong way and couldn't pull that back. Shireen,
he literally rubbed them the wrong way.
And bent over the wrong way and bent over the wrong way. And Shireen got caught with PG bad mouthing Abby just feet away. And then boom, Shireen's gone. PG's on her way out. I mean, just every little step along the way, somebody has just done something that just puts them, as a target. And now here was Kass. Kass didn't, when they were all in that big under the hut, when poor poetic justice tried to rear its head, everybody was just kind of just sitting there because they were miserable, they were bored, and Steven was trying to break the ice, but Kass was like right buried in the middle of all of that, and she didn't have to do what she did. She could have just stayed right there with the group, but that scorpion part of her that wants to sting came out, and she did it, and it cost her, and she knows it. This is
said it
worse than the first time.
Yeah,
this one
was so emotional at the end of.
You could see it in her eyes. You're right, Alicia. You could see she was like that close to like a big boohoo.
Well, and even on her exit confessional, she said, I did this all completely to myself. I did want to talk a little bit about actually Joe. And so, Alicia, you like Joe because he's really athletic. You don't care about Survivor strategy. That's fine. But Joe was smart enough to realize he was on the out with Spencer. And I thought, what a difference that makes with Joe, because Joe was able to, look at his little group and be like, hey, I'm on the outs, and he, made that alliance with Spencer. So do you think that's going to become a long-term thing, Joe, Spencer, and then Kelly Wentworth try to take out the Savages?
When they were showing that scene, Joe he made a face at one point when Spencer was showing him that little football thing and being like, okay, here's you and I in the middle, and Joe was kind of like, oh yeah. But the facial expression he made, to me, didn't seem like he was totally buying into it. And so I actually thought he was going to go on and not be working with Spencer or not be trusting Spencer. And so I guess for the time being, I've been proven wrong on that. But I'm not as sold on the fact that Joe is gung-ho, let's hang out with Spencer all the time.
So you don't think Joe is actually as aware as I'm saying he is?
What was that?
You're saying that Joe's not as aware of himself as I'm saying he is. Because I'm saying he's smart enough to realize he is kind of on the bottom of that group.
I mean, I don't really think he's at the bottom of that group. So.
Well, I'm thinking more like with Steven and with Jeremy and kind of that other stuff we were foreshadowed about getting rid of him last episode.
Okay. I mean, I still think Jeremy and Savage are all about Joe, so I don't know, but...
Well, we'll see. And I just want to point out, listeners, whenever Alicia talks about Joe, she touches her hair. It's really funny. Okay, Ty, you wanted to jump in real quick.
I actually completely agree with Alicia. We don't know for certain that Joe is at the bottom of that group because Steven wanted to kill Joe, 3 episodes ago? And Jeremy was like, no. Well, yeah, it was just
foreshadowing that looks like it may be coming up again.
Mm-hmm.
Right, exactly.
So what John's saying is that I'm right, so that's fine. But anyways,
unless they value Joe more, which would be dumb, because awkward doesn't win you the game. But it's who knows? In any case, I just assumed that Joe was being like the face that Alicia was referencing. I just assumed that was based on the fact that Spencer thought he really needed to do a terrible football analogy to get Joe to understand basic concepts of swing voting. I mean, God bless Spencer, who thinks that he knows so much about this game that other people somehow cannot fathom. Like, I'm going to talk about my girlfriend now. This will make people care about me. Like, it's
he's trying, and that's what matters.
He is trying, and I have him on my fantasy team, so I hope he continues to do well because then I do well. But I don't know.
John, from my perspective, there is no way in heck Joe is going to win this game, especially after winning that first immunity. Do you agree or disagree?
Well, if they keep him around too long, then all bets are off because he could pull a Holloway, and he's already seen somebody do that once. So, the question is the Bayonne alliance going to hold fast? If they're smart, Steven would pull back his reins a little bit because, historically, athletic, able-bodied males get targeted unless they're buried in a good, solid alliance. I mean, there isn't too many alpha-type males that can get through the game without strong partners because, everybody just perceives them as
oh, no.
God, Joe. It would make sense for them to stick together.
Can you just hold up? You actually froze a little bit. You were just saying, you're talking about how the athletic males have to hide under each other. I'm sorry, my computer froze a little bit.
Oh, it's okay. What I was saying is that, historically the alpha males are always targeted. Mm-hmm. So, in this case, you've got Jeremy, Joe, Savage, Steven, being a male. I don't think anybody perceives him as being a challenge threat. But, so it would really make sense for them to try to, hold fast, and for somebody like Spencer to join with them. So that way they've got at least their numbers. Mm-hmm. And then, somebody like Tasha, she's kind of showing to be, and even like a Wentworth, more kind of, the kind of girl that likes to hang out with the guys more than, with, the mean girls or the Heathers. So it'll be interesting to see, see what happens. But, if he gets singled out and is perceived as a threat by the alphas, then he's done. He's not going to make it very far.
And I guess I could kind of see that happening because I could see Savage and Jeremy being like this young kids trying to, be all youngy. Well, I'm the real alpha male, all that jazz. And I do think all alpha male alliances will implode on each other just because of this, ego. Steven, I want to talk with you about Steven. He was saying at Tribal Council, how amazing this game has become because we're targeting 3 girls at the merge instead of a strong guy. But to me, I understand why you're targeting Kass, Sierra, and Tasha. They may not be strong alpha males, but they're extremely strong competitors. So while it is kind of different that they're not voting out the person with 6-pack abs, they're still voting out a threat.
Right. It's just it's still a threat. It's just a different quality threat. So with the challenges you have, the challenge beasts, I think it brings back to what John said earlier with the devil you know, the devil you don't. You know that the challenge beasts are just that, challenge beasts. People like Savage, Jeremy, they weren't bad strategically, but that wasn't their wheelhouse. People like Sierra and Kass, they're the ones you're more afraid of because they're the ones who can, stir stuff up when they need to and turn the tide. So I do understand why you'd want to take someone like that out first over a challenge threat because you never know what folks like that are going to, stir.
Mm-hmm. Very fair. Okay.
Fear the unknown. That's essentially what it is. You know what the challenge beasts are. Mm-hmm. They are a thing. you never know what Kass is going to do. Kass tells you that you will never know what Kass is going to do. That is why she's gone now.
Exactly. So another thing I wanted to talk about before we kind of started winding down a little bit was there's a couple people, and John, I want to know your opinion on this. Keith, Kelly Wigglesworth, and Kimmy haven't really been getting that many confessionals. Are they just DOA? Because I've written them off, and I mean, if you think I'm wrong, I mean that's fair, but I don't see how any of them can win. And in fact, I'm actually thinking that pretty soon we're gonna have a couple of boring episodes when, as Ty said, Kelly Wigglesworth finally speaks, and then she gets immediately ousted.
I don't. You know what? I don't see her going anytime soon. I think her and Keith are going to be around, and they're going to be used as seat fillers at some point. And but right now, their core alliance is they're in there. Keith, just like in the season before, nobody really included him because nobody took him seriously. I mean, as a player, they like him. He's got a great sense of humor. He's probably a lot of fun. But I don't see anybody having one-on-one time with Keith talking game, or talking strategy. So, and Kelly obviously is doing the same thing. So at some point in time, I could see those two end up in the swing position, but going where the Power Alliance is going, but then and then finding themselves in 5th or 6th.
I was about to say, they seem to be getting almost like the Rick edit from Survivor South Pacific. Almost like not as bad as Christina Chan Survivor One World, but still just to kind of like, hey, that person's there.
Yep.
Yay. All right. So I guess the big takeaway I want to kind of squeeze from you guys is, are these alliances that we saw tonight going to stay fast? And are we going to see Sierra? John's already shaking his head. Okay, John, why not? Why wouldn't the alpha male stay together at least for a little bit?
Well, I think you're going to have like Jeremy and Savage and them trying to, but I mean, you could, in that group that's there are just too many players. So like Jeff Probst was saying is are we going to see voting blocks? And I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see a season come up in the future, even potentially a returning season, that there is no tribe, that it's an individual game from the minute you start. And can you imagine the chaos that is going to go with that? Because it potentially is going to be voting blocks. So I think that this is like think about this, a merge of 13, our season had 16 people in it. So that would be like merging, after Hunter got voted out. So
you still would have voted out Rob, right? Like, I just want to ask you that.
Well, you never know. I mean, keep all your options open. Obviously, when people show you who they are, believe them, but maybe just for this day, and maybe you'll have to see where things are the next day. But I think that you're going to see definitely voting blocks, and I wouldn't be surprised to see within an episode or two, Bayon as we know it now no longer existing, and it changing form, as we go along. And players like Kelly and Keith are going to be extremely pivotal in those kinds of blocks, because all it's going to take is 3 or 4 power people then to convince Keith and Kelly to join them. So suddenly now you got maybe 3 or 4 power people plus 2 more. Maybe that's just enough. And then it gets reshuffled and somebody convinces them, no, come with us. You like us better. So, let's go over here.
So in a way, almost everyone's going to be a chaos cast.
Yeah, I think Sierra opened the door to say, look, play, people. You came out here, play. So what did she say? Yeah, you know what? I maybe told a little bit of a fib, but there was some truth in there too.
And I don't know. I just, you kind of swayed me a little bit, because I actually thought that the next bit was going to be Sierra, and I was willing to make that prediction. But now I'm a little on the fence. Steven, did you want to jump in?
Just to quote Dara, Kass lies, but sometimes she tells the truth too.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Steven, I also believe you had some questions you wanted to ask John from other fans.
Just 2 quick questions real quick. One, John, my friend wanted to know, do you always bet on black when you go to Vegas?
I vote on red.
And then did you go out to get chicken and waffles with Sean Rector afterwards?
We did.
Yes. Okay.
Made everyone...
No, you know what? And here, talking about, like in your season, whether you want to call them a rival or, an enemy or, somebody ambushed you or whatever, the thing is, our season is, after it was all said and done, we still, Nalia and I are best friends. We talk almost every day. I still talk with Gabe. He's doing Survivor Shade tonight with us, so he'll be doing the commentary. Sean, I don't get to talk to him very often, but we're Facebook friends and we'll send little messages. I don't think that if a game were to play again, it would be a mixed bag because, Sean took me out with the flip of the row 2-4. I took Gabriel out. So you don't know what that would look like if you got to go back, and play again. But you do know those people and you know how you all played. And the question is, could you let bygones be bygones and let water be under the bridge and start anew? And that's that whole scorpion and the frog thing is, can somebody, or that leopard, can they really truly change their spots?
Well, I would actually make an argument that if, let's say, you were to come back with Sean, you would have a distinct advantage over, let's say, Spencer and Kass, in that it's been so long since you two have played together. And I mean, almost like no matter how bad someone does you in, after 10 years, you move on.
You would think so. But here's the thing is when you're under the pressure cooker of Survivor with the elements and the food, and then as you have attrition, and if you're lucky enough to be in the shrinking pool as you move closer to the finale, old wounds could open up very easily, and I think part of what happened with Kass, Tasha, and Spencer is those, not only were those wounds reopened, but there were familiar fights that they were able to have. They had their roles, and roles are very difficult to get out of in life. You'll see people who tend to date or are in multiple marriages, marry the same person. The same kind of problems keep kind of popping up, or they're in a relationship and they occupy the same space over and over and over again. So, it would be very easy to fall back into kind of those old habits or those old roles, which is exactly what Kass did. And that's what Tasha did. And that's what Spencer did.
And do you think that's going to doom all of them?
It depends. I mean, I think it goes to, how strong of a person, is it that is able to, kind of get that yoke off of their shoulders to, play a different game and let the slate be clean. And can they truly do it on both ends? Will the person on the other end, will they trust it? Will they receive it? Will they believe it? And then on the other end is, can you really do it? I mean, can you put your money where your mouth is and start over and start fresh? I would tell you, if I got to play again and I had to play with Sean and I had to play with Gabriel, I would be more worried about that than playing with any other hardcore Survivor players, simply because I have history, and it's both negative and positive, and you just never know when the ugly parts of that may rise up, and it'll be way more intense. It's that first kind of shame on you the first time, shame on you the second time.
And I'm really glad you didn't say that you were totally going to work with them, because I was going to be like, hey, just so you know, in case you're listening, Gabriel and Sean, he's actually winking at the camera and going like, oh no, I'm totally going to take him out. So I could have just messed up your second chance. So I have to ask you this. Were you considered for second chance? And if not, would you still go back? Would you like to be on the second chance ballot? Or what do you want your future with this game to be?
Yeah, so good question. So number one is I was not asked back. It's been 14 years, and I'm reconciled to my place in Survivor. I'm not invisible. I do have my place. Between getting peed on by Kathy, being the arrogant prick that I was, and let the power all go to my head. And then the rise of the Counter Alliance to topple the row 2-4. That was by far, one of the big game changers in Survivor, to see that kind of flip and then have it being done so epically. was really great. And yeah, I was on the receiving end of that, but I was a part of it. My energy and the way I played the game was part of that. The other thing is we went 15 days without going to tribal council, and anybody that was in my alliance in our tribe will know that, I was definitely one of the pivotal people that strategized each of those challenges. And I played a large part in why we were so successful and why we went 15 days. And it took many, many years for that record to be broken. So I think my Survivor resume is strong enough to say, what would this guy look like if he played again? Would he play a different game? Mm-hmm. Could he, would he have to go out there and be the leader again? If he was a leader, could he do it without being power hungry and arrogant and all those things? Or do your habits die hard? And I go out there and just recreate the same disaster, that befell me the first time. What I do know is that I think about this, my ouster and my mistakes all the time. And I think any player who had a legitimate shot of winning and then blew it like Kass did tonight, it haunts you. And so when I go back, I would go back in a heartbeat. But my window of opportunity is closing because of my busy law practice.
Okay.
My partner and I were trying to build a goat dairy to make goat cheese and all of that. So, really this next go round, that's why I've been doing my big pre-campaign in case they're looking at doing some incarnation. I put it out there. I want to go back. I want to play. I'm a player. I'll give it my all. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, then I can lay it down and move on with my life. But for now, I'm going to do everything in my power to let Jeff Probst and CBS and SEG know that I want to come back and play.
Well, and I want to say, all of us super fans, we want you to come back. I have not encountered a single super fan, even on like Reddit, which is that's where all the Alicias are. Even on Reddit, there's still a desire to see you play again.
Yeah, they're all co-hosting Survivor podcasts, all those casual fans.
I love you, Alicia. You're awesome. Don't let them do this to you.
I let them do it every week.
Yeah, normally I do it to Elise, though, so I think she's happy that I'm just picking on her today.
That's right.
So I have a question for you, and I didn't even think about this till earlier today. And it's almost kind of awkward, but I definitely want to know your opinion on it. And I think now that it kind of sucks that you're campaigning, because I don't know how much of an honest answer I'm going to get from you, but when I watched your boot episode when I was 12, I wasn't like Steven, I was 12. I was a little older.
Double digits. Ooh.
They show you, after you get voted out, within 2 seconds you're crying.
Mm-hmm.
When you watch on the DVD and you see the full interview, it makes complete sense, like you can see kind of you go through the emotions. Mm-hmm. Were you ever mad at CBS that they kind of edited it in such a way to make it seem like that you were just going, oh, I have a great body, and then start crying? Like,
oh, yeah. No, because, well, first of all, my abs were, like, vicious. I mean, they were fucking fantastic. I sent a fan a picture this week, and I'm like, damn, I had an 8-pack. I didn't have a 6-pack. I had a damn 8-pack. No, I definitely gave them the bullets to shoot me with. There's no doubt about it. But to be honest, I don't think I was mad. I think what I was more, I guess, where my feelings probably got hurt back in the day was, I was kind of made out to be this, arrogant prick who's just a whiner baby, bad sport, and now, I didn't win, get my way. But, what you didn't get was, I got teared up because, I just started talking about my mom, and I'm a mama's boy. And, now, in April of 14, my mom had breast cancer, and I'm doing this big breast density advocacy to get the word out about breast density and all of it. So I'm very close. She works for me. She does all my intakes, works with all my clients when they first come into our office. So I'm very, very close, with my mom. I was close with her then. I'm close with her now. So it was all kind of taken out of context because I was talking about my mom. Well, shit. Now, I mean, Steven's crying because nobody wants to play Survivor hard with him, and nobody is, throwing him under the bus and all of that. But part of it, was definitely kind of blown out of proportion. But here's the thing: is I tell everybody, if you're going to play Survivor, you better win because they're going to edit you backwards. They're going to start with your fall, and then they're going to figure out a story that goes along with that. And because I gave them this big epic look, if I had won, I probably would have played 2 more, 3 more times, myself.
They would have had a season where you came back against like some other guy, and it would have been Redemption Island. It would have been a mess. Yeah,
exactly. It'd been a huge disaster. But you know what? It's one of those things where it's I didn't win, and maybe part of the reason that I haven't been asked back is I did have this big epic downfall. And maybe they think that there's nothing really else to show about me.
It's a second chance story, though. If Wu gets a second chance, you deserve one.
Well, I think if there's ever a time to give somebody a redemption option, option. I mean, I think definitely. You have to remember too is when I played, it was right after 9/11, and we were supposed to go for a final interview the week after 9/11, and then they postponed that a week. And when we started to play that game, part of where the Love Tribe came from was because of what had happened. And we were all still, traumatized, worried about what was happening at home. And it took us a while to kind of get our legs underneath us to play the game the way it's intended. So, that whole Love Tribe, it was very real. I mean, I think that's why I think the Road to, Tribe was so close. One is we were winning, so that helps. But, we talked a lot about, like, what do you think's happening back home? And, are there any more terrorist events? And we're trying to, like, read production, like, look at their faces, see if they look stressed, all those kinds of things. So we had a lot of stuff that was kind of in the mix that impacted, I think. And so once I got playing the game, I overplayed it by voting Gabriel out. Because at that point, I was so ready to play the game. And, and I would love the shot to play a game without those kind of encumbrances. If I got to play the next time, I would just have a lot of fun with it.
And you would take me to the end, right?
All the way, everybody. But really, I'd take you out and take Alicia.
Yeah, I know. It's okay. When I talked to Richard Hatch, me and him had our little dodge up. He was like, Colin, I would let you get 5th. I'm like, no, you would tell me 5th. In reality, you were playing for 7th, so I'd have to try to take you out at 9th. It was a whole mess. But that's a different story.
Let's just say this. I'll promise you an odd number.
Thank you. Okay. But I'm glad you kind of brought up that perspective because, like I said, I was in 4th grade when that happened. And I do think it's important to always look at the historical context of your season, and especially looking at your season under the idea of America, we were super united right at that point. And it's interesting to think about how that kind of, plays into the future of your game. But
also I betrayed that ideal because we were in that tight, look, 15 days. Winning, Love Tribe. We're massaging each other. We're saying prayers together. We're making meals. I'm Johnny Pots and Pans because I'm the cook and the chef, and I invented coconut popcorn, and so we're all doing all of this, all of this family style thing. And then we had the crazy aunt in Kathy who was just unhinged, and had we lost, she would have been voted out, in a second, but we didn't, and she came back into the fold, and so all of those things. And then, they do the tribe swap, and then the game, then the crazy cousins show up with Rob and Sean, and, and then they're creating all kinds of chaos. And so, like, the Garden of Eden was, like, poisoned with the Rob and Sean show. And then, but that was within me. I wanted to play the game like that. I wanted to, have it be a fun, exciting game. But really, if you think about it, nobody in that entire tribe was playing the game like that. Mm-hmm. That's why, when I got taken out, my alliance came out right behind me. There were no other moves. It was, we had a stranglehold on the game, and then we screwed up at the coconut challenge. They took me out. They took the alliance straight out behind there. And then, the game, finished out the way that it did. But if you think about the entire Road to Tribe, what gameplay did you see? Not much.
All we saw was you voting out Boston Rob, and I think that's what I'm going to remember you for. I'm not going to remember you for your downfall. Because I remember at the time, I really didn't like Rob, and I think it was because he was kind of mean to Gino, but I'm not sure.
He was mean to everybody, yeah. We didn't realize that, too. Playing the game at the time, you had no clue until you watched it. Now, I will tell you this, because we're doing this, like, SurvivorShade.com thing, and being, throwing, talking trash. And, here's the thing is at the time we were playing the game, it was just in those first few seasons. You bet your sweet ass I'm giving some good confessionals when I get to come back, because it's those that do take the game so seriously. All of that. They're offering up all kinds of stuff to be able to have a conversation with the viewers and the fans. And I didn't really get that first time, but Rob did, and that's what gave him the cred that he did and why he kept coming back. He gave great confessionals, and they were spot on, and they were hysterical. They were a little mean and sometimes a little bit over the line, but he was extremely entertaining, and that's what kind of Varner was doing this season. And you bet your ass, I go back, I'm going to give you some good confessionals.
So, not only do we learn so much more about John, your experience, we also now have a petition we can set up, and we can explain why John deserves to come back. It's like bullet point 1, he'll give sweet ass confessionals. Bullet point 2,
he'll be
super mean. He'll be super mean. He'll say things that are just horrible right off the bat.
That's
like if you think I'm kind of mean to Alicia, just wait till what John says.
Exactly.
About all this stuff.
You're going to do the show, and 3 months later, he's really going to hurt your feelings.
And America will actually be rooting for his success.
That's exactly.
That is, I will say, that was probably my favorite confessional of all time.
Who actually says that? Who says that? I mean, what kind of arrogance? And you want to talk about entitlement? I'm literally sitting there, and I have convinced myself, I'm so drunk with power, that Nalia and Pascal are going to bow down and hand me the game.
Well, did you feel at all vindicated when Jeremy got voted out and he was like, "Oh, the good guy lost in his season"? San Juan del Sur, because that's kind of similar. Being
it's
like,
not
"Oh,
close."
I'm just trying to make you feel better."
That is probably the only thing in our entire season that I truly cringe is when I hear that, and I make fun of it myself, and I've thrown some memes and stuff out there. But oh my, it's like literally, I just want to just go crawl in a hole and die, like. And when it's on, I've watched the season I think twice since it aired in 14, and every time I get to that, I have to fast forward it. I'm so mortified because I know it's coming, and I'm like, oh god, I'm gonna throw up a little bit in my mouth.
Well, I just want you to know, we're naming tonight's episode "America Wants Kass to Win." I think that's going to be a very good.
Kass says on her, what do they say when you're saying goodbye? What's the thing at the end?
Not your words.
Yeah, your final words. Yeah. Kass says on her final words, "Everybody is rooting for my success."
Everyone's rooting. That's perfect. Now, does anyone have any soapboxes, any final thoughts before we wrap things up for tonight?
Just a big thank you to John. This has been
it is a big thank you to John, and thank you so much for joining us. And your website is it survivorshade.com? Or
it is.
It is.
I'm going to put a
Hocus Pocus, people. It's fantastic.
That's right. Be careful. Close your eyes.
Don't have any dreams tonight.
Don't have any dreams. He's not under your bed.
Kathy and Jimmy is frightening.
If I have a scary dream tonight, I'm coming for you.
Open your closet doors.
My closet.
I have a clear shower curtain because I'm scared of murderers that could potentially hide.
Can I tell you?
Oh God.
Halloween. Can I tell you a scary story?
Yes.
Go right ahead.
Absolutely.
Okay. And it's absolutely true. So when I was in college, I ran track, and it was for the Thanksgiving Day holiday. We had all gone home, and there was supposed to be a snowstorm coming, and I didn't live that far away, and I'm not sure why there was a snowstorm, but my dad insisted on taking me back to school during the break. So he drives me back up there, and the snowstorm came, and nobody could make it back. So it was just a handful of people on this small little campus in Fremont, Nebraska. And so some of my other track buddies had stayed on campus because they lived in Fremont and they had Thanksgiving with their family there. So they were going to watch a movie, and so our dorms were just across the street from each other. And so when I got up to I went over to their place, watched the movie, and I came back, and I got in my dorm room, and I just kind of taped my coat off, and I didn't hang it up, and I threw it on the floor, and then I got into bed, and then I was like, oh, I should hang up my coat. So I grabbed my coat off the floor, and so I go to, and it's one of those where it's a mirror image, so it's closet, dresser, bed, desk. And so right when I get ready to put my hand on the closet door, just like every hair in my body stood up, and I knew somebody was in my room. And so I turn around and I'm looking at my roommate's closet, like straight across from me. I swear to God. And I pick up my tennis racket and I go over, and I don't remember that I heard anything. So I go over and I open the door, and the guy who was our RA, who was on the football team, he was like 6'7", is sitting on a chair in my roommate's closet. He had moved all his shit out of the way and is sitting on the chair. Like the door was cracked just a little bit. I must have heard it or just sensed it. And I'd been there 2 nights at that point. And I just remember I stood back and was like, get the hell out of here. And he's like stood and he goes, "Oh, did I scare you?" So he leaves, and I'm going like, what was he doing in there? So and then all of a sudden, like as soon as he left the room, I remembered the night before I thought he must have thought it was a dream. I woke up the night before and he was standing over me. That Friday night, I had the instant image, and I said like, "What are you doing?" And then I fell back asleep. But I had remembered the night before I woke up like and there, but then fell back asleep. So I get freaked out and I leave to go out of the room. So I sneak out the back way. When I get ready to go around the corner, he had come out of the building and was laying down by the window of my dorm, looking through the window.
Oh, what?
And he saw me and he freaked out and went running, and he hid under these bushes, and there was a piece of cardboard and he pulled it over the top. So then I went across and I got one of the other security people, and I came back and I go in the thing, and by this time I'm totally freaked out, shaking, like I don't know what's going on. And they're like, what's happening? And I'm like, and I'm pointing at him, and we look down, and he lifts up the cardboard and he looks at us, and then he puts the cardboard back down. Well, we go to find out that weekend he had gone through the entire dorm and was sleeping in people's beds. He was like doing all this weird stuff, like weird, like perverse, like stuff, like on pillows and like disgusting, and it ended up getting thrown out of college. But I mean, I was like that close to like, I don't know whatever happened to him, but I mean, he literally was sitting in my closet.
And if he's listening to this podcast, he's a fantastic, member of society and shouldn't come after us. That's insane, John.
So Alicia, tonight, make sure you open your closet doors. Under your bed.
It's cracked right now. Thanks.
I hand to God for like 3 or 4 years. Before when I went to bed, I had to open up all doors. I couldn't sleep in a room with like doors closed. I was so freaked out.
Oh my god.
Oh my god, that's insane.
Yeah, that's traumatizing. Yeah.
I hope you went through that so that I never have to.
I would take the hocus pocus.
The thing is, and I saw this in a movie once. Now that I tell you that story, I don't have to live with it anymore.
That's true. It's now going to go to Steven.
It's now moved on to all of us.
It's going to haunt Steven.
Steven, your closet.
I took a nap earlier today. I thought I heard someone walking upstairs in my house, even though my folks are out of town.
It's him.
I was like, oh, and lo and behold, of course,
Bam.
I heard my door close. I was like, oh no.
Are you missing any cardboard?
No, thank God. No cardboard.
Creepiest thing that ever happened to me. Creepiest thing.
I can't even imagine. I don't know. I would still have the heat.
People are weird.
And I was like, and I was a runner, so I was like maybe 140 pounds. I was just, a pretty skinny little thing. And, this guy literally was like 6'7", 6'8" football player, gigantic, huge person. And he moved everything out of the way and took the chair from the desk and moved it into the closet to sit on it.
That's so weird.
Like,
oh god.
That's just so terrifying that your body knew and could just. Yeah.
As soon as before I even
thank God you sensed it though.
My door, it literally was like a movie. My hand went to touch my closet door, and I just froze. And I was just like, and I just turned, and I knew somebody was in the room. And then it was like, oh my God, it's in this closet across from me, and just like walking like towards the closet, and then trying to decide to open the door, and then seeing him sitting there on a chair in his underwear.
So John, I just want to ask you though, if you were to play Survivor again, would you employ this creepy strategy in order to get more confessionals, or is that just kind of?
What I would do is at night I would tell everybody this story, so then I would totally freak them out.
And then no one got any sleep, and you just could manipulate him and walk to the walk away.
Yeah, instead of a spy shack, John's going to create a spy closet on the island.
That's right.
Well, John, I want to thank you so much for joining us tonight. Listeners, we did have a lot of technical difficulties. I blame Ty, Steven, and Alicia, not me at all for any of them. But thank you so much, and I can't wait to talk with you again, John, and hopefully it'll be sometime soon.
Great. I appreciate y'all.
Yeah.
All right,
Once again, check out his website.
Yeah, survivorshade.com.
Survivorshade.com. All right. Have a wonderful evening, guys. Bye.
Thanks.
Ciao, everybody.